This is Guy C.
For a very well-timed 10 p.m. I got gameplay, and you can hear in the background there are sleeping minions afoot. Yes, and also they're not the only ones who are probably sleeping tonight as well. I know it's a rather late start in terms of I got gameplay, but we had to make it a late start because we had a rather interesting topic from a rather interesting person. Yes, we have the man with us tonight who'll be taking over the show from myself, of course. He is Mr. Miguel Leon from the Untitled movie show, which actually streams live here on tonight.
Oh, you're making me blush, and I very much appreciate you for staying up past your bedtime for me to be able to host this episode for you. It's a very special episode. It's kind of one that I've been toying around with, one that I've been wanting to do for a while now. So I very much appreciate you giving me the opportunity, but I'm not the only one here. So go ahead and introduce the rest of the cast and crew.
Well, it's of course as well. We have a lady on the show who doesn't like to be called lady, who's cosplayer at Hazardous Cosplay, the amazing, the enchanted, and also she is Shimiji herself, Miss Jamie Styles.
Hey everyone, what's up? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a long time, Jamie. What have you been up to? I know you've been going on to a lot of conventions and cosplaying, and you had family events and stuff. Tell us a little bit about what the stuff you've been doing and stuff.
Yeah, I've been getting ready to go to RTX in Austin, Texas in August, and I just got back from Conuga not too long ago. That was an awesome convention, and currently we're getting ready to go to HamaCon in June, and besides that, I had like Easter with the family, and then basically the rest of the time it was just like my allergies and the weather have just been fucking me over something fierce, and so I haven't really been able to do anything. So, but yeah, so just been busy.
Damn you, weather. Damn you to hell. And also, speaking of damn and summon to hell, we have a gentleman making his return to I Got Gameplay. He is the amazing, the interesting, and also the man who I hate so much at the moment because he gets paid a hell of a lot more than I do. He is Mr. Paul Andrew Crampton. Paul!
Well, thank you for having me. I know you talked to me 20 minutes ago and said, you want to do this? And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
these 12-hour shifts are going to kill me.
Yeah, I was like, Paul, I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to make you on the show. And I was like, please, Paul, I will suck your dick. And then Paul was just like, yes. And now I have to do it. It's shameful. The gentleman who's done many a live stream with me, who just basically chats for the fun of it, and also likes to do stuff for the lulz. He is the tech-savvy, the very interesting Mr. Sean Michelin. Sean!
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. What have you been up to, my friend?
I was just working a lot this week. I was down and out for a couple days from work, though. I had a bit of a sinus thing on the go or something. I'm on like this Nasonex now or something, and that is just like, oof. But other than that, just playing still haven't really recorded anything in a while.
Love to chat this week. So if you ladies and gents want to get more fill of Michael Burhan this week, I've done a Let's Play on over at Jeremy McDougall's channel, of course, Top Tier Game Reviews. Check them out over on youtube.com, Top Tier Game Reviews. And also on Xander Scullion's channel, which is kind of like the sister channel for this. We have a show called E-Tank, where me and Xander pick the top 5 things of stuff. So check that out. We've got a new episode coming possibly every week, depending how well I edit and how long me and Xander can get ourselves in a room together without trying to kill one another. So, let's go on with the show, of course. Miguel Leon's going to take aim. We're not going to be doing news this week, basically just due to the length of what's happening on tonight's show. we're going to be talking about 2005 in gaming. So, Miguel, take it away and tell us how you came up with this concept.
I came up with this concept because I was going through some of my old magazines recently, my old video game magazines. Let me make that clear. Anybody who ever shopped at EB Games, do any of you remember GMR magazine?
I think I can.
I'm going to take that
remember
to
saying
mean
it against them.
I can hear.
I'm going to take that as meaning no. So basically, GMR was one of EB Games' short-lived attempts to get their version of Game Informer. This was pre-buyout, so they were still their own magazine off the ground. They had efforts before they subsequently got bought out by GameStop. It went 25, and in January was the top 50 most anticipated. It's always good to look at hindsight versus foresight and see what. So it got me thinking, and I realized, it's Wikipedia, and looked up, what a lot happened. Before we actually get into the actual article in question that I want to realize, your life in video games like in 2005. Burhan, we'll start with you.
My game was plenty, going on holiday, enjoying myself. I had my Game Boy Advance, my 2. I didn't really do anything else after that. My dad was more the Xbox person. It was just basically just enjoying what I had and then going out and having loads of sex because I was a bit of a whore back then. That's me.
Lucky you.
Mostly
Paul,
the backside bars.
what was
I
game? Okay, Sean, we'll throw it over to you then. Sean, what was gaming like in 05?
I didn't keep up too much of that. I was still a bit retro. I had my Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo and a Game Boy, the green screen model, and I was doing some emulation though around then. And friends of mine had PlayStation 1 and things like that, so I'd usually go over there and play. And there to go work at a mining town in the middle of fucking buttfuck nowhere, northeastern Canada, Labrador City. After that, I had gotten PlayStation 2, but that was in 2006, sadly, so I hopped onto the boat late there. But a little bit on the PC, mostly emulation. I still was pretty much rooted in my past.
Fair enough. I mean, we always got to remember it wasn't just the consoles. Paul, what about you? What was gaming like for you in 2005?
Well, I was extremely poor at that time, so my gaming was still limited to playing my older systems. But I do remember losing most of my friends to World of Warcraft at that time.
Yeah, it hit big in 05, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fair
Other
enough.
than that,
Jamie,
it really wasn't too much for me.
Fair enough.
Well, at first I was not going to be like, oh yeah, I was playing like, fucking, Battalion Wars or, shit like that, or Mortal Kombat. My world in 2005 was all about Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves. I cannot tell you how many times I beat that game, and to this day I can beat the entire trilogy of Sly Cooper, the first 3 games, the ones I recognize as real, in about 8 hours, and I collect everything. Like, that's a speed run and 100% completion. So that is what my year was like.
Yeah, Sly Cooper's one of those franchises.
I have no regrets.
No, that's fine. I was actually going to make a regret of mine. The PS2
Right.
life cycle. It was you were either a Jack and Daxter or a Ratchet and Clank guy, and I dabbled in a little bit of both. But Sly Cooper was one of those franchises I never really got into, and I do regret that because having gone back and played some of the original ones, they are very well done. I mean, I really respect a lot of
Right.
Sucker Punch's work, especially Infamous. I don't know if you've played that game. That was the big one that they had for the PS3.
I haven't been able to play any of the Infamous games, but I watched a walkthrough of Infamous Second Son, and there's actually a Sly Cooper Easter egg you can find in
There's
that
a couple actually.
in the city.
I've got the
Like,
first
he even has
two
a Sly
games
Cooper
for the
pin.
PS3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I very much have a lot of respect for that. I mean, if I'd have went up to a random 11-year-old an answer, so much respect, man. True that.
You'd probably get arrested as well just by talking to an 11-year-old child. You disgust me.
Probably, yeah, probably. Well, I mean, my sister. Then my sister's 10, so we'll just say it's me talking to my sister in a couple months because
yeah.
she'll be turning 11 soon.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like, I kind of, I also want to add that, like, I also I went to GameStop a lot, and I actually beat the GameStop manager in the multiplayer at Sly 3, and I won like this giant PlayStation neon sign, and I won the giant stand-up cardboard cutout of Sly Cooper 3.
I thought you were going to say you want to do that. Dang.
No.
Easy, Burhan, easy. All right, and for me, 2005 actually means a lot more than that. 2005, and I didn't realize this until I went back. 2005 was really the year that I realized that video games were going to be my life moving forward. I had just discovered the Tech TV channel. This was right around the time when they had just done the G4 Tech TV merger, that small window of opportunity where we thought good things were going to happen. I was going on forums a lot more. You know, everybody has that moment in their life where they realize what is their identity. You know, whether it's when you find a band in college that really speaks to you, you know, whether you find what profession you want to do when you grow up. In this case, I knew I wanted video games to be in my life. I mean, the year after I signed up to the International Academy of Design and Technology to study game design, a horrible mistake, by the way. Don't ever do what I did. But the year I just started making new friends at my new school. We were all video game fans. We just talked nothing but video games. So 2005 was huge for me in that regard. It really was a turning point for me in basically what I'm doing now, you know, what I love doing, you know, which is video games. I know I host a show about movies, but video games will always be my first love, and 2005 was a big part of that. So I really have a soft spot in my heart for 2005 in that regard. But enough about the soppy shit. I've got my copy of GMR, issue 25, the top 50 most exciting games of 2005, and let's play a little game. I threw a link in the chat, which is 2005 in video gaming, and it has a list of all the major releases. Let's throw it. I'm going to throw it over to you guys and see who can guess what game had the highest listing. Now, Burhan, you don't get it to choose because I already told you what the number one was in our conversation. But I'm going to throw it over to you guys.
Dirty 2005 gaming secrets.
Yeah, you who probably remember 2005. What game do you think made it up into the top of their list? Pick a game from 2005 that you think would have been on their most anticipated list. I already threw the link in the chat, in the Skype chat for 2005 in video gaming, so you can reference that. I'll start over with you, Sean. What game do you think got into their number one? And the winner of this whole guessing game, I don't know, gets a... Sean, we'll start with you. Pick a game from 2005.
Yay, spending money. Yay.
Wasn't there a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2? Didn't that come out in 2005?
2005. Knights of the Old Republic 2. Let's see. Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic 2. That was North America in 2000, since it did initially get released. Let me make sure. No, I don't believe that. You guys have the list. Which ones do you guys think would probably be?
I'm looking through it now. Call
of Duty 2. That did get released in 2005. Paul.
The
Resident Evil 4 did. Jamie, you got a choice? Game released in 2005. See if it's on this list.
Oh God. Now I'm
gonna go through
no
the top
idea.
10 because we're just. You want to call a mulligan on this one, Jamie?
Okay, you know what? Who's God of War?
All right, so Sean, you went with... Paul went with Resident Evil 4. Mm-hmm. Jamie went with God of War. I can tell you off the bat, Call of Duty, they had just reviewed it. I think it had just come out in Japan in December of 2004, so I think they got... Because her guest is on the list, and surprisingly enough, God of War is actually number... God of War is... It's sandwiched between, let's see, SP and City of Villains. So
yes.
Here, let's go from there. Let's
was
go to
Hello Kitty,
what was that, Sean?
Party Pals?
We're actually, man, the anticipation these people had for these games, if it deserves the hype that it got that year. Number 10 on their decent. I mean, Tekken 4. I mean, Tekken was a huge people thought was a misstep in the series. I personally love Tekken 4. I really do. That and Tag Tournament. But 5, I think, I can see how people would get excited. It did come out. I mean, it got a lot of high praise. I do remember that, but still a loyal, diehard fan. I didn't get burned out, honestly, until Tekken 6 came out. Maybe you can make an argument there that it deserves the hype. Number 10 spot in a list of top 50 anticipated games. I'll take that as a no. Let's move on to the next one. All right, number 9.
Oh my God, so much hype over that. I remember.
DS. I mean, there was a lot of hype with the DS in general, and we'll talk about that in a second after we go through the list. But yeah, I borrowed a buddy's GameCube, and he had Animal Crossing, and I remember getting into fights with my young. I mean, you'd get into fights over just the stupidest shit in that game. DS, I could see that. You know, DS was just coming out. Animal Crossing was a big Nintendo franchise. I could see how that would get a lot sold. Number 8, Kingdom Hearts 2. I forgot.
Oh,
It's been
why
10
are you
years
telling
since
me
Kingdom
this?
Hearts 2
That was
came
my
out.
jam. Oh.
And here's something that a lot of people trigger on the third one. I don't know what's keeping them on that, the fact that it has been 10 years since their sequel. But Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2005. Since 2005, Disney has bought up the rights to Pixar.
No. You're being rumored to even be popping up in it now?
Not only Star Wars, but like I said, they bought up the rights to Pixar. That's a treasure. That I'm amazed that they haven't pulled the trigger on it. And, you know, not releasing a Kingdom Hearts game. I would be shocked if we didn't see Kingdom Hearts. It blew me away when I saw that. I'm like, wow.
Hasn't it been out? Hasn't it already been confirmed though? I thought that. Or am I wrong on that?
I haven't. No, I don't.
I could be wrong. It could have been another one of their crappy spin-offs.
It's in development. They announced in 2013. They haven't announced much since then. Yeah, all they've said is that consoles,
Right.
and they are planning on using Marvel and Star Wars characters in that game. So this is going to be huge. Our universe, and you know what? At this point, where else can they go? I mean, they've already milked their Disney franchises dry.
They've got Tron in it before, so I mean, they've really been digging into, you know, the broader part.
I think that would be awesome if they did that. I think they should.
This next one surprised me because this is the only Xbox 360 title that's actually surprised that out of all of the games. Well, to be fair though, I mean, when you look at that in a bit when we talk about the release of the 360, but DOA 4, because DOA has kind of been the Yes, it was. And DOA has kind of been the cornerstone of like the PS2 launch, the Xbox, the first X out at launch, but I do remember them coming out in December of 05, so they did be excited. I mean, DOA, for all the jokes people make, really is said he loves making games for the most powerful. Briefly, he was with the PS2 after the Dreamcast died because he cubed games because he felt that it was an inferior console to the Xbox, but we won't get DOA 4. Fine, I could see that. And like I said, it's the only Xbox 360 title that they're anticipating. I didn't see any others, but I could see that in terms of just potential. DOA 4. One of the first games I got was Dead or Alive 2. I love that game. Anybody else disagree with me, or you want to move on? This game, I forget hype. Do any of you guys remember Black? Anybody?
No.
Criterion's first the Burnout series and now the Need for Speed. I remember the hype around this to be modeled realistically, and you were going to be able to like blow holes in floors and do all this stuff. It was basically cars. And having actually played the game, this game, I actually remember playing the game and being just solely disappointed. It's not a bad first-person shooter. It's all it was. And it's unfortunate because I think after that, EA pretty much stuck Criterion. I mean, they got a chance to make one good game, and it kind of blew up in their faces. It's kind of like what happened to Tiburon with... you guys don't have much to think about it. This one. I really do like that game. I haven't played 2 games, but I have a soft spot. Got into Tech TV around the same time. Tech TV used to have the show X Play, and they used to have a segment where they would play the co-op missions in Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. It's up on YouTube. Go ahead. But yeah, I can see how this game would get a looking game. It played great. It was still, I don't believe, and was kind of a bit of a dud in my opinion, at least. So let's move on. Have any of you guys actually played that game, Chaos Theory? Okay. All right. This next one, number Xbox, right? Brian?
And an Xbox 360, but the Xbox I never really played.
I mentioned Star Wars before. This was BioWare's big follow-up to looking at trailers for this game and being blown away. I'm like, wow, this game looks really good. It's BioWare doing RPGs. I was really looking forward to this game. I never got an Xbox, though. Never got a chance to play it. But yeah, that's one of those games that I really wish. That's a game that BioWare games. They usually say either Mass Effect or Knights of the Old Republic. You don't hear many people bringing up J-Game?
I actually did play it for too long.
Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Here's the top 3. Number 3, Final Fantasy 12. I actually played this game, and I got Yeah, that's the consensus I've heard from everybody that's played that game. Is it's terrible. I didn't like it when I first played it, but I feel like if I tried again, I might like it because I do like the concept of the pseudo active battle system that they tried in there. It was an interesting concept.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't think that it worked too well. I think they needed to ratchet it up a bit. But I actually really dug the idea, and it was something. Honestly, I think it would play better now. You know, as considering how many people are against Final Fantasy ever since 13, the debacle that was 13. I think 12 would probably,
Oh, yeah.
if they brought back that. What was that?
I disagreed with you. I
You were
said,
gonna
oh
say-
yeah.
You disagreed on what?
I was gonna agree with you that the 13 debacle was just.
If they brought that same style from 12 back into the franchise, if it would be a better burst of fresh air than 13 was supposed to be. But yeah, I could see it's a Final Fantasy game. Of course, it's going to get the top 3 spot, you know, if in any sort of anticipation list. And I remember seeing the trailers and actually being kind of blown away. I mean, they were beautiful trailers. The game, not so much. You know, it was okay for a PS2 game, but you know, it is what it is. So it got delayed like literally at the last Princess. Yeah, that was. I remember
Ah,
that was
damn
actually
it.
was slated to.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
slated to come out in 2005, and it got delayed like literally at the last second. And I think the reason was didn't they delay it so they can get it out for the Wii U? Not the Wii U, for the Wii. It was one of the launch titles,
Yeah.
I
The
believe,
Wii,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if that game had come out, I'm sure one of you guys would have pulled it out. But yeah, Twilight Princess. I remember there was a lot of hype behind it, and it kind of is funny that it didn't make the 05 Christmas season like they wanted it to. But yeah, now we're at the number 1, and it's. I was actually confused when I first saw it. I'm like, what game is named this? And as they changed the name and whatnot, and I could see how some people may put this in their list. I don't think it deserved the number 1 spot. But are you guys familiar with the game Wanda and the Colossus?
No.
No.
Familiar about the final name, because this was actually one of the initial names for it. And you probably are familiar with its final name, Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh,
That's what it-
game. Oh.
Yeah,
Love
that was
that game.
that got their
Fucking
number 1
love.
spot. By the way, do you guys know why it was called Wanda and the Colossus? It's actually a really funny story. I actually did research into it. Initially, when they were first planning on bringing it over, it was called Wanda and the Colossus. The reason was because in Japan, the game is actually called Wander and the Colossus after the main character. I think the main character's name is in the Japanese language. I think R and L are so close that they're not technically even a distant between.
Yeah.
There's
Fluid
no
cuts.
differential between. Yeah, there's no differential between L and R. So when they brought it over, they just took the R off of the end of it. So Wanderer the Colossus became Wanda and the Colossus. And then they realized, fuck, we can't market a game called Wanda and the Colossus. So they changed it to Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know if it deserves the number 1 spot. I mean, by this point, all we had was art. And I remember those initial art shots were pretty. But so do you think it was worth all the hype? Do you think it lived up to it? I mean, there was a lot of hype coming into
See,
it.
I jumped on like a year and a half later. I got a PS2 like about middle 2006, and I managed to get that with the PS2 because the guy got a PS3, and you know some of the games he had already finished, and you know, I never quite got to play it all the way through, but it was good. I gotta say the open area to it's kind of a sandbox game in a way. It's only really you and these colossi and like the odd bird you can take down with your arrow or the little. I liked it, but as for hype, I never really got to catch too much of the hype. But I heard some good things about it, and then I came across it in the sale that I got, and so I do have to say it's a good game, a number 1 contender. Hindsight, no, but I was pretty blown away by it then. So close to number 1, I'd say.
Well, I know it was a pretty silent game we played, but I do appreciate you guys humoring me in that regard. And I got to give a thumbs up to Jake. But yeah,
I
let's
can't
go
believe I
into the
didn't pick
actual.
Kingdom Hearts, honestly.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because I was blown away. I'd forgotten how long that was. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah,
I
2005
scrolled the list
in
and I
terms of.
didn't see it, so.
Oh no, the list, the actual top 50 list is in the magazine that I'm looking at. It wasn't in the article. But yeah, 2005 in news was actually pretty substantial. I mean, it was, I think, probably the biggest bit of news we can talk about was the Xbox 360. 5 really is that throughput between that, because you've got the start of the new generation. You've kind of got the big last hurrah for all the main consoles. I think this was pretty much the last year that the original Xbox was relevant. I think they pretty much killed the console after that. What do you guys remember about the Xbox 360 launch? Let's start with you, Burhan. What do you remember from that launch?
What launch?
Burhan.
Sorry, what launch?
The Xbox 360.
Oh, the 360 launch.
Launched in December.
I remember basically when they launched it. One, I didn't have the money for it. Boat, and they put this huge banner on the freaking boat about the 360 itself. One of the things that it kind of stood out about the console was it was the friend to everyone FPS. I eventually got the console when they released Alan Wake, and I actually won a pair of tokens from HMV, which discounted my purchase of an Xbox 360 by, I believe it was supposed to be $120, and I got the console for $30 because of the vouchers that I won. So yeah, for gaming, because I had a Wii at the time, and it was more of a family console because Nintendo.
How did you? Oh, you didn't get it at launch, okay? Because I was about to be like, wait a minute, the Wii launched in 2006. How did you get it before the 360? And I was like, no, you bought it after the fact.
No, I bought it
Fair
after.
enough.
I told you when they launched it, I didn't have the money for it, and I was kind of, with me and Microsoft, we've had this love-hate relationship, in a sense, for the fact that Windows Vista was a pile of shit. And consoles, yeah, fuck you, Microsoft. But Dad had an Xbox. I was like, cool, Dad, you got an Xbox. It wasn't really my cup of tea. Most of the stuff I used to watch him play was like Tiger Woods, but nothing like substantial. So it wasn't a console that I sat there and went, oh my god, I want to buy this console. But when I got it, that's when I realised how good the console actually was. Believe it or not.
Were you like me, following the news article, following the news outlets, anticipating the launch of the system?
Actually, a friend of mine actually won like an IGA contest and won one for launch. So we were quite excited to play that, even though I really wasn't like a big Xbox fan. And you're playing it like that. It was actually given. I sent away so it would be there the day of. So
what do you
that
think
was a
about
lot of
those
fun.
initial? What are some of the games you played at launch? Do you remember what games he got his hands on at the launch?
I don't remember. It came with 3, but I think it was. I don't even know if they were any good ones, really. I don't remember what we played. I just remember having a lot of fun that night.
If I remember straight.
No, that was several years after the fact, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy 13 didn't come out until I think 2009, I believe. So it was several years after that. But yeah, let's see, Sean. Let's throw it over to you. What do you remember the Xbox 360 launch, and do you remember what you were doing in regards to that?
Well, I was still living here in the city then, and a friend of mine worked at EB Games, so like he used to get stuff at 15% off plus before then, sitting around at a friend's place, and he walks in and he's got Steel Battalion there in the giant box. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But he got the 360, but he's talking about the core units and everything like that, and like you get one with a hard drive on it, one without, just like the cards or what have you for the memory cards. Fairly decent lineup. I never really got to try it out too much until a few months the next year, didn't it? 2006.
That might have been 2006. Let me just look that up. Halo 3, 2007 actually.
2007, yeah. So I got to really try it out around then, more or less, really, because just at that point in my life, and not just so much finances, just like different focuses on things in life. I got 2 360s now. They're side by side. They're one's from a capture setup in 2008, and then that one died. I got another one in 2009. That's when the previous one had died. Then a few people gave me ones with different working parts of that, and I pieced together another one. And I got a fair size of a library now. But yeah, I was impressed with the 360. I hadn't gotten to try the PS3 at that point, but when the price was announced, when they did the reveal, it was kind of like, ooh, it's a bit
Yeah, that initial sticker shock for the PS3 was rough. But yeah, I'd forgotten that they did the whole core system setup. You know, the whole $299 for the hard driveless one, and then $399 for the one with the hard drive. They were actually one of the first to have that setup with the whole, two different consoles. I mean, you don't see it much nowadays. It's kind of just one or
No.
bust. But that was an interesting little experiment that took place back in that generation.
No, I had a PlayStation 2, and that was my baby for a long time. I still do not own an Xbox, though we want an Xbox 360.
Sacrilegious!
I know, we don't have the money for it. I mean, if you guys want to buy me one, yeah, go for it.
for a
But, like,
360, Jamie. $20.
what,
I
what,
built one of mine.
You could buy one.
used the Xbox on eBay. Okay, tell me what is so wrong about that. The used or the Xbox? Because I want an Xbox that will actually run and not
The
one that
Xbox
I
is
get and
used.
it just turns into Red Ring and just falls over dead.
Craigslist or like a local gaming group on Facebook or something like that in your area.
There
Usually
are
people
killers
will
on
have that one.
Craigslist. There are killers
Well,
on
then go
Well,
on
Craigslist.
Facebook.
get
Where you
Miguel to
register.
go with you.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
Labatt Light.
I'm 5'2" and I'm like 98 pounds. Okay.
Don't,
Does it work
don't let
that
them get
way?
to you, sweetie. It's fine. It's all it's all good in the hood.
Peer
Don't worry.
pressure. Peer
Um,
pressure.
Shut up, Rohan. Anyway, for me, because I remember G4 was doing this whole midnight launch party they were doing, where they were going to have their talking heads reviewing all the launch titles, and it was going to be this big event. And then about a week before the launch, my parents go, "Guess what we're doing next week? We're taking a trip to Puerto Rico." And I just looked at TV watching Adam Sessler review Call of Duty 2. You guys can go ahead, but I was like 14 or 15, so I was like, fuck it, I gotta go with them. So I actually missed out on the that launch party. And what's really upsetting is I actually set the launch party to actually be recorded on my parents' DVR, and then for some reason my dad had this this genius spark where he was gonna unplug all this to record.
Protected.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the actual launch live or even record it. I had to wait about a week or two before they replayed it, but I was actually excited. It was one of the first big console launches that I remember growing up. I wasn't into gaming when the first Xbox launched, or the PS2 or anything like that. So for me, the gala, because I remember Microsoft, I think, didn't they have a big party like down in Times Square or
They
something
had
where
a huge
they had like,
blowout. It's one of the reasons why the Xbox 360 did so well, because spec so well because of marketing. Microsoft killed it with the marketing, and they kind of had better games for it, and it was a lower rate price in comparison to Sony's PlayStation Xbox Live. Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you in that regard, because I'm looking at the launch titles, and the only launch title I think really stuck out for me was probably Call of Duty 2. All the other ones, I mean, do you know anybody who talks about cameo elements of power fondly? Or how about Peter Jackson's King Kong? Or let's see, what was another
I played that
title?
for PS2.
What, King Kong?
Dong.
There's a few shovelware games in here. I mean, Amp 3. Did anybody play that? Or how about the
That wasn't a
Xbox
bad
360
game,
port
it
of
was racing game.
what? Amp 3? No, that was snowboarding.
Oh Jesus, that was out for another system though as well, wasn't it? Or
Amp 3? No, Amp 3 was like Xbox. It was, I think, Microsoft's. It was from Microsoft Studio, so I think it was going to be one of their big, like, their answer to Tony Hawk. Which is funny because the Xbox 360 port of American Waste, Xbox 360 port of Gun, the Neversoft Western game, which is not a bad game, but like I said, there was a couple duds. I mean, probably the biggest one that stands out to me is Perfect Dark Zero. I mean, that was going to be their big answer to Halo. That was like, we're bringing back Perfect Dark, and it's going to be so many reviews of that game being just mediocre. I don't know if anybody got a chance to actually play it, but I heard nothing but bad things about Perfect Dark Zero. What was that?
I played the local multiplayer hunt with a friend one night. It was so easy to fucking headshot somebody without a scope, and we were like across the friggin' map from each other.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it seemed a little bit almost cheap.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, not every launch title can be, not every launch can be perfect. I can't really think of many launch lineups that really stood Mario 64 and only Mario 64. I think that was the only other game that was on that launch. I think the only other one was Pilot Wings. But yeah, that was it really did dominate that market. In fact, I debate to say, had the Wii not caught on as much of a fad as it was that generation, I think we can honestly say the 360 probably won out in that generation. I mean, like I said, the Wii is going to probably on paper be known as the top selling one in terms of the Wii. I think long term, I could probably give the win for that generation to the 360. And you know, Microsoft can be scummy at times, but they really did put their best foot forward with the 360. Yeah, and there was a lot of other stuff. We saw the final last hurrah for a certain video game for a certain hardware franchise, the Game Boy. The final Game Boy launched in 2005 with the Game Boy Micro. But yeah, the Micro was their last attempt, and it launched in 2005, and that was pretty much it for the Game Boy lineup. And that kind of makes me sad, having grown up with that name, you know, the Game Boy name. I didn't get gotten any sort of Game Boy. It probably would have been the SP. I mean, to me, that's their perfect handheld, but the Micro kind of just confused me. It was almost like it was right at that period where it was the smallest phone possible. It was right before smartphones kind of became a thing with the iPhone. So it was like it was always a race to see who can get it smaller and smaller. And Nintendo was like tiny, like the candy bar phones, which we don't see many of mainstream anymore. But yeah. Yeah, and the Micro was kind of Nintendo's answer to that. And I remember this thing being like uncomfortably tiny. I don't know if any of you guys ever played it with a game, because it was just too fucking small. I got big hands for a man. I got big man hands, and I could not hold this thing.
Sorry,
I mean, on paper, it's supposed to be.
That's what she said.
I don't even know what to respond to.
I deserved it.
Yeah. But yeah, I give them credit for trying, and like I said, this was at that weird period where it was about being small, it was about seeing how small you can get a handheld, but name for the Game Boy, because the SP I thought was an amazing handheld. It's still one of my favorites, but the Micro is kind of like the PSP Go. It's a kind of a thing, and it's unfortunate that it has to be the last of that thing, but
I have actually used one as well. One thing that when you say it, talking about too small, all I picture is Derek Zoolander's phone from Zoolander, that tiny little thing he holds up to his head. But with that, I have to take off, so it's.
I do appreciate you being on, man. You know, I know that we're running late, and I do appreciate you guys sticking around, but I can completely understand. You want to get your plug in real quick? Anything you got to plug before you go?
Watch Michael Burhan, whatever he does, because I don't do much except work.
Enough. Paul Crampton, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's move on.
Goodbye, Paul. Butt stuff.
Bye, Paul.
Hey, buddy. Have a good one, eh? Keep a stick on the ice.
Anyway, that's pretty much it. Might be Canadian soon, depending on where he decides to go, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the hardware front. Let's get into the news bits, because this year had a lot of big news bits, and I think we're probably let's start off with probably the biggest one. After coming under heavy fire from many politicians, most notably Hillary Clinton, the Entertainment Software Rights Board re-rated Rockstar Games' Grand Theft Auto San Andreas adults only due to the excessively explicit to offer a new version of the game that can't be affected by the mod, and plans to patch the PC version. This shit was big in 2005. This started a whole storm of controversy.
Has anyone seen the hot coffees on? There is nothing there.
It is. It is, and you know what?
You can. Heavy. Just saying.
I get that. No, Hillary Clinton. I'm sure she earned it, and she's going to be our representative moving forward, folks. You just But I don't know, man. I can't give Rockstar if they knew enough that they were going to get in trouble, that they locked away this content. Why put it in the game in the first place? If you knew that you were going to take flack for this necessary bit of the game, I mean, I have an original run copy still of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I've never needed to hack it or anything. It's unnecessary, and it didn't called. I just had the link up. Oh, this led to the Family Entertainment Protection Act, which was Hillary Clinton's big bill that she was trying to put through. Thankfully, that didn't get picked up, but I remember that was a big heated controversy that they were trying.
FEPA?
Yeah, Entertainment Protection Act.
FEPA. It sounds like a
Yeah.
cross between flipper and fapping.
Fat.
Yeah, FEPA. They call it FEPA. Faster than lightning.
You know, they're just names. You know, but yeah, there was a whole bunch of push forward from this, and it was a dumb. You know what? It really. I thank God that this didn't get pushed through and people just forgot about it. Although, unfortunately, we did.
Well,
Go ahead.
most of the reason behind that was probably because the fact that her husband slept with his secretary. So people don't usually forget.
That has nothing. That has nothing to do with this, Burhan.
Going, yeah, but you're the one who turned the blind eye when your husband had shenanigans with another woman. Just saying, maybe you're just a little bit angry at the rest of the community trying to get this act through. I'm not saying that I would say that. I'm just saying most of these guys would probably, sit there. Just saying.
Well, to be fair, she had a few male supporters. I mean, Joe Lieberman was a big supporter of this bill as well. So yeah, it was just one of those things to where nothing. You know, it's not like we had a major war to deal with at the time. So they had. I think probably the biggest damage that this did is it made a little star out of a certain somebody who popped up in 2005, a certain Florida lawyer who thankfully has become unnecessary to the world. And do you know who I'm talking about, Burhan? Can you take a guess? Whose name pops up when I say video game controversy in the mid 2000s?
Remember, it's like 4 a.m.
Jack Thompson.
Oh yeah, we know that fucker.
That's a name that's a name none of us have heard in a while. Yeah, he was big. Oh yeah, thankfully that's all it was. He's not relevant anymore. And I love quoting Jack Thompson because I love using this I love rubbing that face in the face of like the social justice warriors and be like, you keep putting Auntie Anina on your pedestal. She's gonna end here. And I put those two together. If you really think about it, they're not too far off from each other.
Or a bit like Brianna Wu,
but yeah,
who keeps basically saying that everyone's trying to kill her. I think she needs a tinfoil hat.
There's not enough women in gaming.
She's a psycho, dude. Like, she is less dude, Jack Thompson's more mentally stable than it.
Experiences with male gamers.
That's because Dick Wolf is a hack writer. I mean, that's been the case with Law & Order SVU for the past few seasons. He's a hack. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, that was a big bit of news that came out in 2000. And hopefully we've risen above it. You know, it's just a black eye in gaming history that we kind of have to acknowledge but not really lament on too much. But let's see, what are some other big bits of news that came out in 2005? Let's see. I know there was a few other ones. Sony Computer. Let's see. Oh, this one. I remember this one being a big bit of news. EA partnering with the National Football League when they became the first the video game company to have exclusivity deals with sports leagues. This caused a lot of companies could just make video games based off of the NFL or something, and they didn't have to. It wasn't a big issue. In fact, one of the reasons why EA signed this deal was because of the fact that same year, I think ESPN 2K put out their football game, and I think it was one of Sega. That was Sega. It was Sega's ESPN 2K series. In fact, right after the NFL deal, EA bought up the rights to the ESPN, so they couldn't even use the ESPN license anymore. I think that's when they changed it over to 2K specifically. But yeah, how can EA sign up exclusivity with a company? They're basically buying out their competition. It's almost McMahon-esque, if to use a wrestling term that Burhan might understand. But not to be outdone, Sega baseball franchise, but that was a bit of an ugly time for that they got. Didn't they get voted by the Consumer Protection Agency as like the worst company to work for?
Yes,
I believe Yeah, there was a big vote that happened at that time, but yeah,
they were terrible.
I remember.
Terrible. EA is actually still one. With all fuck ups that Ubisoft's happening currently, EA is still one of the worst companies out there.
Not technically true. I've got friends of mine that work for EA right now, and they're saying that it's gotten a lot better. They're a bunch of scumbags. Well, in all honesty, in terms of their business.
In terms of quality and product assurance and stuff, they're still doing pretty well in comparison. And plus, I work with Activision on a lot of reviews and stuff. They send things without even asking me. They'll send me like different games, and most of their stuff is always QA tested. EA still, but that's another story.
But yeah, 2005 was a pretty substantial year. It's a year that means a lot to me. That another bit of news that came out PG-13 of sorts. I don't know. I don't get the E10 rating. I mean, have you guys played games that are rated E10? Is there really a difference between E and T that we needed an E10?
Because everything, like, we usually have teen or we have the ESRB rating over here as well. So, like, like online play and stuff is not rated for most of our games, but we don't really have that. We have T for teen, 10. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you guys got 13. Isn't it 13, 15, and 18?
Yeah. Don't get any of that other stuff. 10 for us doesn't exist.
I mean, am I missing any bits of news from 2005 that anybody wants to talk about?
Talk about the working designs. Explain how that happened.
Yeah, I never really looked too much into when I was reading it there, but they talked about their working design shutdown, and working designers was bringing over what is it? The one for the Sega CD there, Powerful Mail. I found that one was pretty fun.
Oh,
Powerful Mail is actually rather nice. I remember, Splatter Trigger. He had discussed it a little bit. He's a really big fan of the working designs games, and I think it was just pretty much things dropped off once Titus, their parent company, went bankrupt, and that led to Bethesda owning the Fallout franchise.
Oh yeah, that did happen early on. Interplay, weren't they the company? Were they the ones responsible for?
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, Shiny was tied with Interplay. But yeah, they also had the Descent series. They had they had the Fallout series, obviously.
It was out of that deal was that Bethesda was ownership licensed out to have the name, but there was back rights held by Interplay for the Fallout MMO that they were trying to as well. Bethesda ultimately then owned the entirety of it. Interplay got to release, I think, one more box set of all their games that they produced with the Fallout series, and after that, Fallout 3 onwards is all Bethesda produced.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about Titus is they're the company that I think produced the Superman 64 game. So that's the only thing I remember. Although as far as Interplay goes, the one...
Sorry, Superman 64.
Although I would at least brought back that Interplay had the rights to. I don't know if they still have the rights to it, but I know they were publishers for it, was the Baldur's Gate franchise. Is that still being held by BioWare? Because I think BioWare has to get the rights to that.
Yeah, because they
I would love to see that.
Correctly. That would be pretty good, but I think the D&D banner that were just by BioWare, there was no...
I don't know who owns it, because I'm looking at the... there's been a couple developers that did it. BioWare, Snowblind, I think, did the Dark Alliance franchise for the PS2. I think they bought them up from Interplay before Interplay got bought out by Bethesda. Because I know that they released a remake of the original Baldur's Gate for PC, Mac OS X, Mac OS X, Android, and the iPad. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, let's see what other bits of news we can talk about in that regard.
Kenji Inafune, the creator of Mega Man, was promoted to corporate office, to senior corporate office in Capcom.
It up because I'm like, that's nice and all, but we know where he ended up after that. So
we did, but we're still waiting on Mighty No. 9 game after them asking for tons more money, because So he's not kind of too shy away from Capcom, because he may never even see the light of day. So yeah.
What, Mighty No. 9?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be released this year. Still no sign of it.
Yeah, it still hasn't been coming. It still hasn't come out.
It's been 2 years.
Wow, I'm surprised, because I remember when I first joined up with IGG, that was a big thing that's all we were talking about was Mighty No. 9, Mighty No.
Last year they basically tried to do another funding thing to do a Mighty No. 9 cartoon, and we're like, we just want to see the fucking game, you know? Why are you concentrating on all these other Mighty No. 9 shit when you should be concentrating on the game itself? You know, one of their PR managers was someone at the gaming community. I didn't talk too much about her because I didn't care about her love life or who she was, etc. As long as she wasn't affecting the company by a whole. But the company became to do very, very shady stuff. You know, your pledge. You know, if you give us an extra $50, we could do this for you. And it was just like, okay, you know, I just want my fucking game. I want to play the prototype.
What game is this?
Mighty No. 9. I'm supposed to be getting the game. You know, still hasn't. There's no. They haven't even stated when the game will be released. They've just said be patient. Quite recently, it's terrible. Gone from, you know, all the corporate bollocks of Capcom, in his words, to basically being a company full of corporate bollocks, putting out a product, which is kind of worrying.
It's unfortunately that's the dark side of the whole crowdfunded system, is that, you know, a lot of times we get some good things out of it, and a lot of times there's just at some, you know, a lot of these, fortunate that it has to happen, because I was rooting for Inafune with Mighty Number 9. I really wanted to see it come out, but honestly at this point I would be shocked, and I'd be even more shocked if it did come out and people actually cared, because at this point I think it's heat, it's got no heat anymore. So I will be shocked if anybody actually cares.
There's no big reveal of the finished product. They've been quiet on all fronts, which is worrying, because I think they've had a total of nearly 4 million poured into that game from backing and also from outside backers as well. It needs to stop. They need to focus on getting the damn game done, getting it out there, and also doing other projects that are coming out. They've just got the Mighty Number 9 game. That's it. And you know what?
Yeah,
they did put out a great game called Soul Sacrifice like a while back for the PS Vita. Just point out.
What, the same team that's putting out Mighty Number 9?
Yeah, Concept. They released it and they published it via who was it via? I'm trying to think about who the company was via. Not be too sure about it, but it was a good game. I played it. So you could go back in time and basically play out different scenarios in order to get yourself to a point so you're stronger when facing this enemy. It's a really, really good game. You had this kind of interesting in terms of the terminology and the way the game was played. What pisses me off now is the way that the company's what it's become, and it's extremely, extremely shady, and I feel really, really bad. Hoping it's amazeballs, and I'm hoping that everything bad that I'm saying about Concept at the moment doesn't hold true by the time that game comes out. But right now, Inafune,
did we just lose Sean?
In gaming, I just don't really believe that he knows what the fuck he's doing.
It looks like we're losing people, and it sounds like Burhan's about to pass out. So let's see if we wrap things up, because there's pretty much not much else I wanted to really talk about. I figured we could get more meat out of a lot of the big events, but it sounds like everybody's kind of tired.
Round off of 2005 left us. You know, where did gaming finish at the end of 2005?
For me, it finished off with a lot of potential. You know, the 360 had just come out. We were seeing all sorts of new games. We knew games like Halo 3 were on the rise. It was the start of so many good things and so many, you know, a couple rough things with the PS3 and whatnot. But it was, like I said, it was an exciting time, especially for me, because, like I said, I just started getting into making video games a big part of my life. So it was good and so much bad, you know, given what I went through with the college thing. But I look back at 2005 incredibly fondly. You know, I really do look back on it with a lot of... I was just about to be subtle about that, yeah. But yeah, I look back on it very fondly. I'll throw it over to you guys.
Well, for me, 2005 and 2004, I was a jobbing actor, about to do some new projects, was cast in my first big kind of... never got released, by the way. And... I also, in 2004, met who now is my ex-wife. And in terms of me and gaming, I kind of, you know, I knew what was coming out there under a lot of promise in terms of next gen, because we had 3 different companies. And it also, people would call Nintendo's so-called last foray, or, you know, hardcore gamers were saying goodbye to Nintendo platforms until the release of the Wii. You know, I was unsure where the company that I loved so much, but it was an in-between time for me. What was 2005, at the end of 2005? What did that left you? With 2005, what did 2005 leave you thinking at the end?
A bit more options for gaming and that, and I was excited for it on Xbox 360 in like 2008. I had no impressive then for me for that, but I was really hopeful for all over that when it finally came out. So I was pretty hopeful for that. Seems like it's doing good, but it just doesn't have the pull.
Yeah, a lot of it is kind of the great thing about Miguel's topic is kind of seeing 10 years later, the 2005 in terms of gaming.
I wasn't much into gaming at that point. I was starting to get into it, and I was obsessed with Sly Cooper, and it left me anxiously awaiting Sly cutscene where Bentley says he's going to make a time machine, and I'm like, man, well, the game fucking came out like last fucking year, and I'm still kind of fucking pissed about it. Basically, they took away her corset and her pants to put her in a tube top bra, a team over Sly, and she just has to help him. And I'm like, no, Raccoon Man. You know, like it was embarrassing to see where they took it.
That finger.
It was embarrassing to see where they took it. I'm not mistaken, for Sly Cooper. But it really, when I started, I think that's when Gears just started for me. I was like, oh my god, that was one of the first games I had ever really loved video games and saying fuck it and never touching them again. But like, it started my...
Oh wow, I just realized the same guy that underrated movie.
I agree with
it's
you.
one of my
I
favorite.
liked it.
I like that movie.
Yeah, I do as well, and I'm glad, again, fuck Brandon Roth.
Brendan Routh?
Yeah. I TV series
Adam.
based on the character of the actor. He's a very underrated actor. I think a lot of what happened with Super, so just saying. I still rate it. But it's not a movie show, so we might as well not talk about it. So let's...
So did the 2007 CGI Turtles movie. So
It was a really, really good
Patrick
movie.
Stewart.
Yeah, it was.
Continuation of the live action.
Yeah. Basically, talk about what the promise is 2015. 2015 and 2005, 10 years later, we'll probably be looking at a retrospective of 2015 and where we have seen gaming.
who knows? In 10 years, we'll probably be doing this on the I Got Gameplay TV series. 10 years.
Of tonight's show. It's kind of short, I know. Kind of right about 2005 in a nutshell. And remember that you would love to tell us exactly where you were, what you were up to 2005. Next week's show, though, we're going to have a Gentleman fan. Make sure you tune in for on tonight and a little bit more there as well. Check out my on E-Tank, which is on Xander's things that we're looking for because Adam Sandler's attached to it. No offense, fuck out 80s, the heyday of gaming, which I believe people will love because it looks great. We've got a lot of which I'm allowed to announce now, and he'll be doing an episode with myself and whoever would like to come on as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a great episode in 2 weeks. So when that pre-expo, doing my thing down there, interviewing people, going to have a lot more interview team for Play Expo down in Play Blackpool. Silent Hill Kickstarter is a series that will lead up to that, talking about the reasons why I feel that a few more cast members from that. Also, check the YouTube channels and talk about their respective shows as well. Burhan and the Boy is going to be debuting by Xander Scullion soon. I'll let him talk about that project coming. I'm going to be talking on Steam, talking a little bit about that. I'm still going through Dragon Age. That as well. There's a lot more projects and stuff. Want to order an I Got Gameplay t-shirt? Please do. It all goes to a good cause. And also, now I'll take it over to else's YouTube channels. Google Michael Burhan. You'll find me on everything and anything. Sean Michelin. Sean, where can we find you?
/ Dietless79, DAIATLUS79. I also go by that on Instagram and Twitter. Dietless79, but I don't. It hasn't seen too much activity in a while. But wanting to watch it on Netflix right now that I've gotten addicted to is Halt and Catch Fire. It's AMC makes it actually.
And Jamie, where can we find you?
A bit of a halt in activity, but I'm hoping to start filming again really soon. I just gotta. And you can find me on Facebook at Hazardous Cosplay. We'll be going to HamaCon in June, and we will be at that. So just stay tuned, and maybe we'll have something amusing up for you soon.
And now YouTube links are, of course, and also sign us off.
You can find us running original series on the Retro Unlim channel. I like to point that out every once in a while. This coming Wednesday, we're going to be doing our news episode with the recent leaks of Batman vs. Superman and the Star Wars 7 trailer. We got to talk news. We got to talk about the recent news that's coming. Some news episodes. Our next news episode this coming Wednesday night. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/unmovieshow. You can find links to the official Untitled Movie Show YouTube channel I don't have a dedicated link yet, so follow us on Twitter to get the link to there. Episode 5, which is our episode on remakes. So you can check that out. You can check us out on Twitter, obviously, twitter.com/unmovieshow, youtube.com. And that's pretty much it for where you could find us. So for myself, for Jamie Styles, for Sean Michelin, and Michael Burhan, this has been I Got Gameplay. Take us out, generic, non-royalty free music.
Have you?
Shit, I forgot that was your ending.